Hi Sarah, let's have a look at task 1 about shoe sales and task 2 about technology. So the shoe sales. The bar graph gives information about the difference in the sale of brown and black leather shoes in 9 European countries in 2018. Yes, perfect. Great introductory sentence. Overall, and a space after the comma, it can be seen that every country had different preference. I would say different preferences regarding the type of shoes. While brown leather shoes were bought more in most of these countries, black leather shoes were sold more in only 3 countries, namely Hungary, Italy, and the UK. Okay, wait a second. I'm not sure what you mean by these countries, because in the first sentence you say it can be seen that every country had different preferences regarding the type of shoes. So when you say that brown leather shoes were bought more in most of these countries, the reader would be confused and it would be difficult to understand what do you mean in most of these countries. If you want to say that the majority of the countries examined in the graph showed preference, or let's say mostly bought brown leather shoes, you could do it simpler because this first clause is a bit confusing. The second one is good. The second one is clear. Okay. You could say while brown leather shoes were bought by the majority of the countries mentioned in the graph, just not these, because these creates most of the confusion. All the rest is fine. Looking at the graph in detail, that's nice. This is nice. In detail, it can be seen that the number of brown leather shoes sold in France was twice as high as the number of black leather shoes that were sold. Okay, good. There is no need to capitalize black here. Absolutely no reason. And just mind your spacing when you type, because in case you're going to take the computer-based IELTS exam, this is going to be counted as, as a typo. It's still a little error. Just mind it. And another thing, approximately 75 and 25 respectively. In essence, I understand what you mean, but having two adverbs, approximately and respectively, creates confusion because, they look the same. Perhaps you could say about 75 and 25, comma, respectively. You always need the comma before respectively. But anyway, you could, you could be a bit more precise with the figures here, just to avoid using the approximately adverb. In contrast, mind your spacing, no space before comma. Belgium witnessed the most significant difference between, and again a capital. I don't know, maybe this is a typing error, a capitalization error that happened without you noticing it, but you don't need to capitalize it here. Significant difference between the sale of both types of shoes, with just above 0 for brown leather shoes and around 100 for the black ones. I would say not one. With just above 0 sounds a bit odd to me. Perhaps you could find a more natural way of saying that. You could, well, if you say just above 0 for the sales of brown leather shoes, you could replace that with something like there were very few. The amount of brown leather shoes sold was insignificant, being very close to 0, something like that. But I would rather go with very insignificant rather than just above 0, because just above 0 sounds like a temperature value to me. On the other hand, spacing again, in Italy, Hungary, and the UK, there was a minimal difference in the sale of these shoes. Which these? If you refer to the black ones, it might become confusing. You could say in the sale of black footwear, with a margin of 3 to 5. What do you mean by with a margin of 3 to 5? The figure for the black leather shoes was higher than that of brown leather shoes. I think you're missing a linking word here, perhaps while or whereas. In Holland and Ireland, the respective number of brown leather shoes sold was the respective numbers, perhaps, because you refer to two countries, so you need to, and you have two values here. Whereas there was a drop of 25 what units, percent, thousand. I would mention the unit here in the sale of black leather shoes in both countries. Okay, so uh, your description is rather good. You have good highlights, but I would be very careful with the use of one, the word this and these, so that they point to the right concepts, because otherwise it will be difficult to track back what you mean. Two, you have an overuse of the word difference, and the combination color, like brown or black, leather shoes. Try to vary your vocabulary. Say footwear, say items, this type of merchandise. Try to vary the word or expression for the item being sold, and try to vary the word sold itself, because I can see bought and sold a lot, but what about their synonyms? Perhaps purchased, perhaps any other expression referring to the act of buying. So yeah, this would be it. And perhaps so one concluding sentence would do great in this task one. Now let's have a look at task two. Some people believe that technology has made man more social. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay, so you have to agree or disagree. Information technology has become, please mind your irregular verbs, so advanced now that it is argued that human beings are able to socialize more because of it. Okay, the wording is a bit awkward. You could word it in a more natural way, but so far so good. In my opinion, spacing and commas, right? We agreed that there should be no space before the comma and there should be a space after the comma. In my opinion, I agree with the statement. Look, if you state your opinion, you either use in my opinion or I agree, because you cannot disagree in your own opinion, right? That sounds weird. So you could say, in my opinion, this statement totally makes sense because technology has improved. Or you can say, I do agree, or I agree with this statement because technology has improved. Not both, okay? Not both of these. Has improved the ways of communication and traveling considerably. Commas, thus bringing human beings closer to each other. Okay, good. So I expect you to talk about improving communication and improving traveling. So technology improving traveling. Let's see how you approach that. Firstly, with the help of internet and mobile phones, people are no longer detached from their loved ones. I wouldn't say detached, I would say separated. That would be a better word choice. It is because technology has provided so many social websites and applications such as Facebook and Instagram. If you capitalize Instagram, why do you offend Facebook that much? So you really have to capitalize the names of social networks or platforms. That making an audio or a video call or even sending a text message has become quite easier. I would say much easier. In other words, staying connected with friends and family is again much quicker, or so quick, or so efficient perhaps, that whether they live next door or overseas make no difference anymore. Nice way of putting that. For example, a recent study showed that on average people use these social websites. Again, you say these, which ones? You mentioned the social networks 5 lines ago. So using the reference word these is a bit too far. I mean, you really have to use it closer to the actual words Facebook and Instagram. Otherwise, it's difficult for the reader to recall what you refer to, even though we all know what you refer to. You can simply say the social websites or the social networks. Social websites, yes, and that's a repeat. Try to avoid repeats and use appropriate synonyms and rephrases as much as possible. For more than 8 hours a day to keep in touch with their life partners and parents. Okay. Thus, it shows. So, do you mean they talk for 8 hours a day? Because this amount per day makes us think about, oh, are they just hanging out there and scrolling through news and pictures and all that? Because this sounds a bit unrealistic. 8 hours only to keep in touch, right? Thus, it shows how technology, what it. Do you mean this example shows how technology has modified the tools of communication on people's social lives as well? Okay, so the first body paragraph is quite clear. You could work a bit on coherence because I wouldn't say that the coherence is perfect, no, but you have good examples, a good argument, and yeah, absolutely fine. Secondly, traveling also has also become effortless. Wait a second. Secondly, traveling also has become effortless. What do you mean by the also? It is also effortless? I wouldn't use also here. I would use another expression, something like, secondly, traveling is the second aspect that has become effortless due to the technology, making it further smooth to meet and greet. Wait. Meet and greet is an idiom that we use in a different context. I wouldn't say it's appropriate here. And while the whole idea of the topic sentence is great, because yes, you need a good sentence to say that technology made traveling effortless, you really need to rewrite this. A way could be, secondly, traveling is another aspect of daily life that has become effortless due to the technology, which made it even smoother why smooth? No, which made it even, no, and just stop, because you have the great word effortless. It is not only because there are more transport options available, but in fact, people now can afford their own cars too. That means technology has invented a new vehicle designs and made them much more affordable. You need the comparative for the public. For example, according to a survey, on average, on average, almost every person above age 30 in the USA owns a private automobile. Therefore, it is more feasible to get together, with their cousins and relatives, as people now have multiple inexpensive choices to go around. Okay. I have a couple of comments here for the second paragraph. Technology is a very, very wide concept. And while we typically think of technology when we refer to devices, internet, mobile phones, I would even say household appliances, but cars would be mostly grouped under the concept of transportation. And yes, transportation makes use of technology to a great extent, but if you ask anyone what they think about technology, I don't think they're going to say cars, right? Like, cars is not about technology, cars is about transport. So that's my first major remark. Second, you said that traveling has become effortless. When you say that, I think of plane travel, not of cars. That's the second discrepancy that I perceive in this paragraph. And well, yes, technology has come up with new vehicle designs, and I would go with self-driven cars. Yes, that's about technology, right? Self-driven cars is a new technology in transportation. But the fact that now everyone can afford a car, people have been able to do that since the 30s, the 40s of the previous century, so this is not new. Hmm? Depends on the country, though, yes. But anyway, at least since the 60s or the 70s. So I wouldn't say that this is a very, very valid argument. And finally, the final sentence, get together with the cousins. Why cousins? Cousins are relatives. You can say friends and relatives, and that would make sense a bit more. So while this makes sense overall, but this is not a well-built argument. I hope you understand what I mean. In conclusion, I believe that technology has definitely allowed people to become more social and friendly as they stay in touch with, as they have can stay in touch better with each other through advanced smartphones as well as budget-friendly vehicles. Okay, your sentence says that people stay in touch through budget-friendly vehicles. That is a bit illogical. Okay, we don't do that. We can visit others using budget-friendly vehicles, but well, I told you what I think about using cars as the main argument in the second body paragraph. But anyway, this conclusion is a bit short. It could be developed more, and it should sum up the two main arguments that you have here clearer, okay? But anyway, please make sure that you rework completely the second body paragraph, because in the way it is written now, unfortunately, I have to tell you that it wouldn't um, get the right score in task achievement because you are not really answering the question. Okay, I hope you get what I mean. This being said, all the best of luck, and hoping that my comments are going to help you improve.